Welcome back to the Tascam DR-70D Essential Training. In this video, we're going to be setting it up to make your first recording. We're going to be talking about how to record with the internal mics, how to record with an external in mic, recording a 2-mix stereo file type, turning off channels and changing gain in the basic menu, recording with dual recording, and looking at all the different file types that you can make with this device. Alright, I've went ahead and removed this camera mounting bracket, exposing the cold shoe mount right below. I've added this Rode VideoMic Pro to the top of the device and plugged it in with the external in. Now, if you've initialized your device back to factory default, you should see all 4 channels are on, indicated by the black highlighted numbers. Also, you'll see the levels for 3 and 4 bouncing because they're utilizing the internal microphones on the front. So these right here. Channels 1 and 2 will be using the microphone. So if I turn the microphone on, now you'll see that 1 and 2 are also bouncing. To make minor adjustments to the gain, I can turn these gain toggles right here. All right, that's it. We're already set up to make our first recording. So I'll go ahead and press the record button. The record light comes on, indicating that we are recording. Because this is going to be recording 2 separate stereo files, I'm going to go ahead and press and hold this slate button. You'll notice that all of the levels are now peaking, and what that does is it adds a tone to all 4 channels, which will be present in both audio files, making it easier for audio syncing in post-editing. Also, you'll notice that the time code is counting up, as well as the record limit is counting down, indicating how much time I have left on my SD card. Lastly, we have the record icon showing in the top left. I'll press the record button again to stop the recording, and there we go, we've made our first recording. Now let's go to the menu and scroll down to Record, and you'll notice file type is set to stereo. Let's select that and change that to 2-mix. Now when I go back out, you'll notice that there's no change to the LCD screen, and if I hit record, nothing looks different. But let me show you what 2-mix is doing behind the scenes. When you're recording a file type of 2-mix, the left channels 1 and 3 and the right channels 2 and 4 will be combined into one stereo file with both lefts mixed together on the left side and both rights mixed together on the right side. Also, instead of recording 2 separate stereo files of 1, 2, and channels 3 and 4, you'll have one stereo file which will use the assigned channels 1 and 2, but actually uses all 4 channels. All right, now let's say you don't want to record with the internal mics. They tend to have a lot of handling noise and are not very good microphones to start with. So to do that, I'll hit Menu. I'll scroll to the Basic menu, which is at the very top, hit Enter. And using these gray buttons, I can navigate and press 3 and go to Channel 3. You see Record, we'll choose Off, and then we'll go to number 4, turn that one off. And now when I go back to the main screen, you'll notice that 3 and 4 are no longer highlighted, indicating that they're off. I'm only recording with channels 1 and 2. Now that channels 3 and 4 are off, we can do something pretty cool. We'll navigate to the record menu and change the file type back to stereo. Then we'll scroll down to dual record. Now, because we've turned off 2 of the channels, 3 and 4, we'll now be able to use dual recording. If we turn it left, we can set a -6 dB. If we go back to the main screen, you'll notice that there's a -6 where 3 and 4 was. What that means is that we're recording 2 separate stereo files. One is of channel 1 and 2, and the second is of channels 1 and 2, but at -6 dB of what these are set at. So if you'll notice, I'm not peaking very high. I'm at like -40 dB right now. So first, let me go to Menu. I'll go to Basic, go to Channel 1, go down to Gain, and I'm going to turn that all the way up to High. I'm going to do the same thing for Channel 2, High. And now you'll notice that I'm peaking around -10 dB, but I'm going to get a second file that's going to be -6 dB less than that. So I'll have one that the highest thing is -10, and then I'll have another one where the highest volume is -16. Dual recording can be especially useful for interviews. If you're recording someone who is especially quiet during most of the interview, but occasionally they might get loud, or the opposite, maybe they talk really loud most of the time, but occasionally they talk really quiet, you can have 2 different recordings, one that is recorded a little bit louder and one that's recorded a little bit quieter. This gives you more range in recording level and allows you more flexibility when you're editing in post. When you're recording file types with mono selected, the first part is the word. If you have date selected, this will be a date. Then you'll have an underscore, and then the recording file project number, indicated by a 4-digit number. Then you'll have the source file, and lastly, the assigned channel. Recording stereo and 2-mix looks about the same, except the assigned channels will be either 1-2 or 3-4. Lastly, using dual recording actually records two separate files. One that will be a regular stereo file indicated with the assigned channels of 1-2 or 3-4, and a second that's the exact same, but there will be a D indicating the dual recording was set, and a dash, whatever number you set the dB at. So this one's indicating it was recorded at -5 dB. If we look at the file contents of the SD card, we can go to Music. The first two were recorded with all 4 channels turned on and with the file type stereo selected. They're both recorded at the same time as indicated by the project number, and we have a 1-2 channel and a 3-4 channel. Below that, we selected mono as the file type, and that recorded all 4 channels because they were all turned on, and we have channels 1, 2, 3, and 4. Next, we have the file that was recorded with 2-mix selected, and this looks like a regular stereo file. Below that, we have our recording with dual recording selected, and that looks like a regular stereo file, but below it is an identical file with D as well as the -6 dB that we recorded at. All right, thanks for watching this video. In the next video, we're going to be talking about recording with an external microphone using the XLR ports, as well as using phantom power.